It was one of those quiet autumn evenings in Seattle, where the skies were painted with gray and the air held the faint scent of rain. Emma Collins had just finished her long shift at the community library, where she worked as a children's program coordinator. She loved her job more than anything. It wasn't about the pay, but the joy of watching children light up as they discovered new books and stories. At 32, Emma's life was steady, predictable, and maybe just a little lonely. She lived in a modest two-bedroom apartment with a balcony overlooking the streets of Capitol Hill, and though her friends often invited her out, she preferred nights with a cup of tea, a cozy blanket, and a book. That night, the streets glistened with rain as she climbed the stairs to her apartment. She fumbled with her keys when she heard a voice behind her. "Excuse me, ma'am? Sorry to bother you." She turned, startled, only to find a young man, maybe in his late 20s, standing a few steps away. He was tall, with messy brown hair damp from the rain, holding a worn-out backpack. His clothes weren't dirty, but they were travel-worn, as if he'd been on the move for days. "Ah, yes," Emma asked cautiously. He shifted uncomfortably, his voice polite but hesitant. "My name's Daniel Harris. I just moved to Seattle. I had an apartment lined up, but it fell through last minute. My cousin lives in the building across from here, but he's not picking up his phone, and I'm kind of stuck out here in the rain." Emma studied him for a moment. She wasn't naive. She knew it wasn't safe to let strangers in. Yet, there was something genuine about his tone, something that tugged at her compassion. She remembered her own first days in Seattle, lost in the city and overwhelmed. She didn't want to leave him standing there. "I'm sorry to hear that," she said softly. I don't usually do this, but you can come in for a bit. Just until the rain slows down. You can try calling your cousin again." Daniel's eyes widened with relief. "Are you sure? I don't want to impose." Emma hesitated, then nodded. "Just this once." The word slipped out almost instinctively, and before she could second-guess herself, she unlocked her door and let him in. Inside, the warmth of the apartment wrapped around them. Daniel set his backpack by the door, visibly grateful. "Thank you. Really. You don't know how much this means to me." Emma offered him a towel to dry off and set a kettle on the stove. Over cups of hot tea, Daniel told her about his move. He'd grown up in Portland, finished college, and wanted a fresh start in Seattle. His cousin had promised to help him get settled, but things clearly hadn't gone to plan. Emma listened, nodding thoughtfully. She found herself unexpectedly enjoying the conversation. Daniel had a natural charm, not the flashy kind, but a sincerity that made her feel at ease. She realized how long it had been since she had meaningful company in her living room. Hours passed without her noticing. Daniel eventually managed to reach his cousin, who explained he'd been caught up at work. Relieved, Daniel stood to leave. "Thank you again, Emma," he said with genuine warmth. "You didn't have to open your door, but you did. I won't forget it." Emma smiled faintly. "Just this once, remember?" Daniel laughed and nodded, slipping into the night. For the next few days, Emma couldn't stop thinking about the encounter. Something about Daniel lingered in her thoughts, the kindness in his voice, the way he seemed grateful for even the smallest gestures. She scolded herself. She barely knew him. Yet when she ran into him at the grocery store 2 weeks later, it felt less like chance and more like fate. This time, he wasn't drenched in rain but looked brighter, more put together. He greeted her with that same warmth. "Emma, I was hoping I'd run into you. My cousin's been helping me out, but I wanted to thank you properly. Can I take you to coffee sometime?" Emma hesitated. She wasn't in the habit of saying yes to near strangers, but something in her heart nudged her forward. Coffee sounds nice. That coffee turned into a 3-hour conversation. They discovered a surprising number of shared interests: books, travel dreams, and even the same guilty pleasure TV shows. Emma found herself laughing in ways she hadn't in years. Daniel, meanwhile, seemed genuinely interested in her work, her passions, and her life. Over the weeks that followed, their paths crossed more often. Sometimes by chance, sometimes by plan. Emma realized she looked forward to his messages, his questions, his presence. It was nothing romantic at first, just companionship. But companionship was something Emma had been missing, something she hadn't admitted to herself until Daniel walked through her door that rainy night. One snowy December evening, as they walked through Pike Place Market with lights strung above them, Daniel turned to her and said quietly, "You know, Emma, I keep thinking back to that night you let me in. If you hadn't, I don't know where I'd be right now. But because you did, my life feels different. Better." Emma's eyes softened. She thought back too. The hesitation, the risk, the moment she decided to say yes. "I'm glad I did," she admitted. "But I only meant to let you in just once." Daniel chuckled. "Well, I guess once was enough to change everything." And as the snowflakes drifted around them, Emma realized he was right. Sometimes, one small choice, one act of kindness, can open the door not just to another person, but to an entirely new chapter of life. She had let him in, just this once. But that once had changed her forever.